All right, may peace and power elevation be to all of you beautiful people out there. This your girl Tiffany coming through live in effect right here on the StreamYard. So if you will be tuning in from YouTube, make sure you share and subscribe to this channel. Hit the notification bell. If you are watching from Facebook, you can go ahead and share this video. So I'm going to go ahead and get on it real quick. Okay. Today's topic will be dealing with Black history, of course, which is a daily consistent thing that I'll do all the time because I feel that it's very important and it's necessary. So today's Black history is going to be dealing with Howard Swanson. All right, Howard Swanson was an African American music composer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give some information about him. But before I do that, I want to show you guys who Howard Swanson is. All right. So right here, this is Howard Swanson. All right. And this is him again. Okay. And it says composer of immoral music. European critics who heard Howard Swanson's music for the first time predicted his composition would become immoral. So he's right here with some critics, right? And they're looking over his music, his the music that he has composed and all that. So that's him. All right. So let's get into some information about him. Now, right here on GeorgiaEncyclopedia.org, okay? And it says here that Howard Swanson was a highly regarded African-American composer of classical music whose work have been performed by major orchestras and leading concerts singers. Overcoming racism and economic challenges, his life reflected his heartfelt statement, the only thing I live for is my music. And so it says Swanson was born in Atlanta on August 18th of 1907 to Mamie Thomas and Howard Swanson. Swanson's mother had taught music before her marriage and was active in Atlanta's cultural life. She determined that not only Howard, but also her other three children would receive musical instruction. As a boy, Swanson possessed a beautiful soprano voice, and he often sang duets with his mother at her own church and other churches in the community. During summers, he lived on his father's farm outside Atlanta, where he was stirred by the rousing hymns of the church congregation using the sofa or the shape note system. All right, so music being very prevalent to Howard Swanson ever since at a young age. So you have to remember, in our community, music is always a prominent thing for us. You know, whether it be R&B, whether it be blues, whether it be even Negro spiritual hymns, it's always been something that we have been connected to was music, because music was a way for us to vocalize and to be able to bring about some healing process to ourselves and be able to bring some entertainment. So music was our biggest tool and our biggest outlet. Now let's continue. And it says, in 1916, seeking economic opportunities, the Swanson family left Atlanta for Cleveland, Ohio. 2 years later, Swanson began to study piano. In 1935, he graduated from Cleveland's Glenville High School. That same year, his father died, and the Swanson family was thrown into a financial crisis. As the oldest son, Swanson was forced to find a job in order to support his mother and siblings. For a time, he worked at the New York Central Railroad's roundhouse, where his father had been employed. Soon, he found employment with the U.S. Postal Services, where he worked for more than a decade. Okay. Determined to expand his musical horizons, in 1930, Swanson began to study piano at the Cleveland Institute of Music. Several of his teachers became aware of his musical talents and persuaded him to work at night so he could take a full course of study during the day. Peace, Melvin. What's going on? Peace, brother. All right. And then it goes on to say that the burden of maintaining a full-time job made it impossible for Swanson to devote time required to become a piano virtuoso. Instead, he aspired to become a composer. In Cleveland, Swanson studied compositions with Herbert Elwell, a composer who had studied in Paris, France, and the noted teacher Nadia Boulanger, whose other American students included composer Aaron Copland in 1938, having been awarded a coveted Rosenwald Fellowship. Swanson traveled to Paris to study with Boulanger. And again, many African Americans went to places like France because it was a more opportunity for them to be able to showcase not only fashion, but also musical talents and also modeling skills and things of that nature. So a lot of African Americans went over to Europe, in order to gain more exposure in the musical arena or even the fashion arena. All right. It says, following the German occupation of Paris in June 1940, the young musician was forced to return to the United States in 1941 on the eve of World War II, and several lean years followed, with Swanson working as a file clerk for the Internal Revenue Service. Regular employment left him with little time or energy for composing, but determined to create a major work, he quit his job in 1943 and composed his first symphony. All right. It says, in the year 1950 proved to be a crucial in Swanson's career. In January 15, 1950, the opera singer Marian Anderson performed his 1942 setting of Langston Hughes' poem, The Negro Speaks of River, at New York's Carnegie Hall. Anderson made this song part of her repertoire and performed it during her farewell American tour in 1964 and 1965. In the summer of 1950, the noted conductor Dmitri Metropolis heard several of Swanson's songs performed at a concert and asked Swanson if he might have an orchestral work to present at one of his future concerts with the New York Philharmonic. Swanson replied was that he did indeed have such a work, his Symphony No. 2, Short Symphony, composed in 1948. Now, I would play some music, however, because of the copyright issue on YouTube, I'm not able to do so because I don't want to end up getting this channel shut down for that. So, yeah. But he has many symphonies and so many works that he has done. As a matter of fact, Marian Anderson happened to be one of them, singing one of his symphonies that he did. So, again, I can't play the music because of the copyright material, so I have to be careful with that. But, you can check it out on your own terms. Let's continue. So it says, on November 26th of 1950, Metropolis gave the world premiere performance of this symphony with New York Philharmonic. Audience response was enthusiastic, and the astute New York Herald Tribune critic and composer Virgil Thomas praised the classical symphony for its highly personal nature and for speaking clearly, warmly, modestly, and at the same time with authority. Other critics agreed with Thompson, awarding the short symphony in the New York Music Critics Circle Award as the most interesting composition of the season. In 1952, Swanson received a grant from the National Academy of Arts and Letters and a Guggenheim Fellowship. These two honors enabled him to return to Europe. He lived in Paris and for a time in Vienna, Austria as well from 1952 through 1966 when he returned to New York. All right. And it says best known for his arts songs, most notably the Negro Speaks of River and for the short symphony. Swanson composed a number of other distinguished work, including the Cuckoo Chorizo for piano in 1948, Suite for cello and piano in 1949, Night Music in 1950, Music for Strings in 1952, Concerto, Concerto for Orchestra in 1957, Symphony Number 3 in 1969. In virtually all of his composition, Swanson worked within the conventional forms of classical music, but he was able to infuse them with a personal style grounded in African American tradition. Swanson died in New York City on November the 12th of 1978, the same year in which Leonte Price sang his night song. Oh, excuse me, Lante, or is it Leonte or Lante? I think it's Leonte Price. Yeah, sang his night song at a performance at the White House. So yeah, that's the story of Howard Swanson. So Howard Swanson is pretty much known for his Negro sympathy or symphony, such as the Negro Speaks of Rivers and the Night Song. All right. So if you want to find out more information, here's the website, which is the GeorgiaEncyclopedia.org. Okay, this is Howard Swanson. All right, so and there's more information on him. So Howard Swanson, distinguished composer. All right, by Marsha J. Resler, The Black Perspective in Music. Okay, and this was written in 1989, volume 17, number 1.5, 1989, page 5 to 26, published by Professor J. Southern, management editor and publisher. All right. So here it is. Howard Swanson, distinguished composer. So that's it goes into more information about his background. All right. That's him again. That's him right here. Let's see what else we can find out about him. Okay, it says right here, it says Swanson was not forgotten at home. From Louisville Symphony came a commission in 1954 to write an orchestra work, which he entitled Concerto for Orchestra, and he wrote the song Snow Dunes upon commission by the Julep School of Music. His composition continued to be performed in the United States. For example, the Detroit Institute of Arts presented a program of music by Howard Swanson on February 16, 1955. Based on available evidence, this was the first concert given over totally to Swanson music. In October of 1958, Swanson received the William and Nona Copley Award. Okay, and it says in 1966, Swanson returned to the United States and settled in New York, where he lived until his death in 1978. During the last decade of his life, he received commission from various individuals and organizations, among them the Symphony of the New World for his Symphony Number 3, 1969, the Throne Music Fund for Fantasy Piece for B-flat soprano saxophone and string orchestra in 1969. Gray College of the State University of New York at Stony Brook for Vista Number 2 for string octet 1969. Herbert Knowles for Dance Suite 1972, and Sonata for cello and piano 1973. The Foundation for Research in the Afro-American Creative Art Incorporation for a Piano Sonata in 1974, to be premiered by Francine Walker, and the New World Trio for the trio for flute, oboe, and piano of 1976. And then it goes on down here. Says that during the 60s and 70s, Howard Swanson compositions were performed widely, if not frequently, on a platform of recitals, on concerts of chamber and symphony orchestras, and at musical festivals. The Triad Chorale of New York City, for example, under the direction of Noel De Costa, programmed Swanson composition on its chamber music concert in 1976 and 1977. His orchestra works were performed from time to time by such orchestra as the Atlanta Symphony, the Symphony of the New York World, the Budapest Philharmonic Orchestra, the Winnipeg Symphony, the Washington D.C. Youth Orchestra, the Harlem Philharmonic Orchestra, and the American Festival Orchestra, among others. And his music was heard as such at such music festival as the Black Composer in in America, 1970, on tours of the Youth Chamber Orchestra of the Oakland Symphony, the Minnesota Black Composers Symposium, from May of 18 to May 24 of 1975, and the celebration of Black Composer in New York City, from August 29th to September 2nd, 1977. Okay. So, and it says some of the concerts of this period carried special importance for Swanson as he entered the distinguished composer period of his career. The first of these took place on October 29th of 1971, when the friends of Howard Swanson presented the music of Howard Swanson at the Carnegie Recital Hall in a program including his piano sonata, nocturne for violin and piano, suite for cello and piano, and art songs. Raul Abdul, one of Swanson's close friends, explained the genesis of the concert. And he went on to say, although we lived for many years just a few doors away from each other in Cleveland, Ohio, it wasn't not until I was a student in Vienna that I got to know Howard Swanson. When I returned to America, Howard maintained our ties through numerous letters in which he shared his innermost feelings about life and art. The most lesson he taught me was to get personal satisfaction through serving one's art without regard to financial reward. The rewards would come in time, he said. And when Howard returned to America after a long period of living abroad, mostly in Paris, sometime in Vienna, I noticed that his music was not being programmed here to any great extent. I vowed to do something about this and proceed to organize an entire program of his chamber music, which was performed at Carnegie Recital Hall in 1971. The effect of this program on the conscience of the musical community was far-reaching. It led directly to performances of his orchestra works by the Atlanta Symphony, the Symphony of the New World, and elsewhere. And individual artists began to program his songs, piano sonatas, and cello suite. Okay, so All right, so that's the Symphony of the New World right here. And here is the African American composers or musician. This is Howard Swanson, Carol Joy, Noel De Costa, Andrew was it Feverson? All right, and this took place on June 12, 1977, Sunday at Alice Tully Hall, Lincoln Center for the Performing Arts, Broadway at 65th Street, New York City. All right, here it is. All right. And there go more information right here. It's called Music of Black American Composer. All right, so if you want to look up more information, here's the website, jaster.org. All right. And the source is called The Black Perspective in Music, which was written in 1989 by Marsha J. Rezer. All right. So that's that. Okay. So anyway, that's all I wanted to conclude on Daily Black History. So if you guys want to check out my other videos, please do so on YouTube. You can check out those archives if you don't find them here on Facebook. So again, if you're watching from Facebook, you can go ahead and share this video if you like. If you're watching from YouTube, go ahead, subscribe and share the channel and hit the notification bell whenever I come on. So anyways, that's all I want to talk about today. With that being said, may peace and power elevation be to all of you. Please be safe out there. Be careful. And until next time, we will reconnect. All right. Deuces. Thank you.